Welcome back to Through It All with us. Last week we kind of touched base a little bit on just arguments and how we overcome that stuff, what caused arguments, how we kind of dealt with it. This week is going to get a little bit more serious, um, kind of when our life started to get serious. We're going to jump into kind of like after our engagement, how our beliefs, like when we started to really focus on what the future looked like. Um, we got to a point in our relationship where we were asking, what's next? What are we actually going to do for the future? What is life going to, bring at us? Like, how do we do life together now at this point? And what we discovered was it didn't, really align of what we both had in mind for a future, and not at all. And we're going to kind of touch base on the hard part of taking a step back and really figuring out life together. We're going to kind of do something a little bit different than our other few videos. We're going to reference our notes a lot more, I think, just because we're getting to a serious point in the podcast to where we don't want to miss things, but we also don't want to just like blabber on because, I can do that a lot. So we're going to kind of go off of our notes and stuff. But this section right here, we're going to talk about what getting serious looked like for us, whether that was our engagement planning, our faith, our family, our lifestyle goals, and where the tension tend to start for us. You kind of already heard about before the engagement, up into, we got engaged, 2 years into our relationship? Mm-hmm. About 2 years in, which was cool. I guess we'll kind of start there. When we got engaged, it almost felt like we'd been through enough to where we were stable enough to ready to plan that future with us, and for me to say yes to being your wife and stuff. And
kind of had no choice.
And I remember I ruined Matthew's wedding plan, or
very much.
Not wedding, proposal, which should have been a red flag to him to begin with, I think. But it's kind of a cute little story. But you kind of heard all the way up to our.
The story's cute.
I think it is because it's me. Want to explain the story?
No.
At the time he was getting ready to propose, we were like already 2 years in. We were already like living together. Fast forward a little bit. I think we were at my aunt's and uncle's house the night he was going to do it. And we were going to leave there to go to downtown. And I think you coordinated with my friend just to be there to get like the reaction, And I remember my stomach was jacked. Okay. Like, we left my aunt's and uncle's house because I literally had diarrhea. Like, it was terrible. And I don't know what happened, but I remember Matthew was kind of being weird, but like I never assumed or guessed like what he was going to do. And we get home, and I think I ruined his plans. So he was obviously kind of like, it took a lot for him, I think, to build up this like courage to go ask me.
I was arguing with you.
Yeah. He was like, no, let's go out. And I'm like, no, dude, like my stomach hurts. Like, I want to go home. I want to go home. We went home. It went my way. We get home. This is a funny part. I think it's cute. It can't get more raw than this. And then I was like, this can't be my man for doing it this way. I go to the bathroom. Once again, crapping my brains out. I come out of the bathroom, walking to the couch, and this man gets on his one knee, almost the hands and knees, gets on his knee and asks me to be his wife. And I'm like, okay, I'm vulnerably like burning out my butthole right now. And I'm like, yeah, like I really wanted to. And then I find out later, like I'm obviously shook. Like, I wanted to be his wife. Like, me and him have been together for a while and truly loved him. But the situation, I was like, that is like for real, like real love. You asked me coming out of the bathroom in our own house. He had a whole thing set up. My friend was supposed to be there. I'm not at the house after I blew up the bathroom. But that, to me, is green flags that this man still got on his knee after I just destroyed our toilet.
I had a ring. I had plans. at people and places,
Mm-hmm.
texting everybody, being like, "Hey, be here, be this, this, this." Last minute, I was like, "She ain't gonna go. She's not gonna go."
How more embarrassing it would be if
You could have went, then you could be like, "I gotta go to the bathroom," and pull up the outhouse or the restaurant or
I just wanted to be home. But he still did it. So at that point, yes, I was ready to be with him forever.
how'd you feel afterwards? The day after?
I think I was still more numb, like in disbelief.
That I asked you coming off the toilet, or that you didn't go because you were hard headed?
Both. I was really upset at myself. Like I beat myself up because every girl wants that like moment captured on camera. Every girl wants like especially our first time. Every girl wants that like public affection and it's just a fairy tale. I think it just made me more upset that I didn't do it and that you put all this courage into it. And also, I know like the week prior, he was taking pictures of me and sending them to like his friends, my family. Like there was one we were at my dad's house, and I remember I was in like this, or no, we were at my aunt's. I was in like this green top, and it's a video of me with a filter, like walking to him, and he goes, "What T minus so many days until I
Yeah.
ask her to be my wife," and I had no idea. So it was so cute to me, but I was also in disbelief because one of the situation. I'm like, there's no way he really waited for me to get out of the bathroom to do this. Like, it's so crazy. But also, it was like you were in La La Land. I was still shocked that you went from my boyfriend to my fiance, and I mean, I don't know if I'm speaking for just myself or everybody, but
Probably.
wanting to be a fiance just sounds so nice. Fiance, fiance. Like, I was just like, my fiance. And then I had a ring on my finger. And it just felt different, it felt so real.
But
And
you gotta show me the ring.
well, this isn't the one you proposed to me with. I'll have to insert a clip. The one that he proposed to me with, I'll insert a clip here. But I think it was just so shocking. I just wasn't okay, but I wasn't like not okay. It took a little bit to set in.
You weren't okay?
Just with the whole situation.
You were trying to go to customer service?
Yeah. We've never really had the discussion of like, how many kids do you want? Do you want to be a father? Like, when it comes to beliefs, a lot of people don't want to talk about beliefs together. And we quite frankly, like we knew where each other stood, but it never affected us. It was never something until it started to affect us. And after like we spent what 2 years, I even lived with him, like we had no like
No structure or foundation. We were just doing it.
yeah, we were just like living in the moment, just being there. And then after the engagement, that's when like we took a step back and we're like, well, do you even want kids? Because I want to be a mom. Do but this is me. I don't care about someone's beliefs because I fell in love with the person, not what they believe or don't believe. So that was never like concern for me with him. We also never touched on, like what we want in a wedding, what we want in our life. Like we needed to grow up and mature and build structure. And we just never addressed that ever early on, which we don't expect everyone to. But there is going to come a point in time that can make or break a lot of things.
Well, also, everybody always says talk about all that stuff first before you get married.
Mm-hmm.
Which probably should have done in the first place.
And I say it, we just never really were affected with whatever we believed or believed.
Well, because we put most of that stuff on the back burner,
yeah.
and then decided to deal with all that stuff later on down the road instead of talking about it first, and then we did it backwards.
Yeah, so like a little like PSA. Before you're ready to just jump and engage somebody, let's like talk about that stuff, because you'll hear it in our shoes. Quite frankly, didn't work out for us as good as we thought it would, you know. We were just living life in the moment, we were going, and then like a serious slap hit us. We're like, okay, what's next?
How did you feel or think when I started falling more into faith and going to church?
I didn't feel in the beginning any different way, because we never like really discussed it. You know, it was just, it was odd the day you woke up and told me you were going to church, but I didn't feel any differently.
Was it odd because of how I was living and doing things, or was it odd because it was just out of the blue?
Out of the blue. What went through your head, and why did you want to follow like your journey a little bit more? Why then, and why all of a sudden?
Because I knew the way that we were doing things wasn't to a standard. And the standard was I was supposed to be head of the household, do things, wasn't supposed to be the weak link. As a man, you're supposed to be the one that takes care of the family, provides, and sets the standard. And I wasn't doing any of those things but providing. I wasn't setting the standard, and I wasn't being a leader. And we all know what a leader means and what the image of a leader is supposed to be. Everybody thinks a leader is not imperfect, um, or not perfect. Um, and when I looked at myself, obviously or anybody, nobody's gonna be perfect. You have your own imperfections. I started to look at myself and know that I had things wrong with me, and would I even follow myself if I was just a random person? Would I want to follow? Would I want to follow myself? Would I want to be a part of what I'm trying to grow or introduce? At the time, no.
Did you feel any kind of way when, like I said early on, when you started to go a little bit deeper and, you know, following that aspect? How did you feel when I wasn't participating?
Not very motivated. Like I wasn't doing something right, and it was mainly part of because I was forcing it. I was that typical Christian out on the street telling everybody you're going to go to hell because of this, or you're going to do this, or don't do this. The typical, you're going to go to hell if you don't believe in God, or if you watch this, or do this, or it was, to me, it was a check mark crossed off of my life board.
Did that make you feel any different about wanting to go further with me in the beginning?
Like I was doing something wrong. Like I wasn't being the image that you, or the example to follow. How can I expect you to pray, go to church, and do all these things if I wasn't doing it? And if I didn't understand it, I was just doing it out of, like I said, like a mental check off my daily board or daily task to do.
Where was your standpoint in Christ? Like,
I believed in God for everybody else, not myself, because of what I had done, did, and wanted to neglect. And so when I would try to force it on you, I was trying to make you not the leader, but like get you to come around first, and then I come around, because I had already been down the baptism road. I had already been down the gave my life to Christ, but fell back. I had already been through all of that. So maybe if I got you to come around, you tagging along would be the motivator to be like, okay, let's keep going. Let's go to
Mhm.
church. Let's go do this. And then it would get me out of the funk of not wanting to go do things or be in a leadership role where I could do those things on my own without not having you to be like hold my hand and go through those things.
Yeah.
So I try to put the responsibility on you, like saying, "Hey, let's read this. Let's do this. Don't do this. Don't do that." But I know I should have been doing not doing those things or not doing certain things, reading and praying and doing all these other things. I wanted you to do it so that way when you came around, it was easier for me to get into a routine and do things.
You guys knew he believed in that at the time. I didn't. I used to be a Christian. I grew up and had my own opinion, and too many things happened in my life to make me fall out of belief. And to be completely honest, that was a big.
It was hard. I
It,
couldn't I couldn't expect you to come around if I wasn't doing something or if I was forcing it on you because then it just seemed like a chore.
yeah,
You have to read to make me happy. You have to pray to make me okay. You have to do all these things to make me feel better instead of me just doing it and then you following along.
mm-hmm.
And then it came an issue with I don't even know if I should go into that.
It just caused family issues. Long story short, because this was.
I have a heavy church family and
I don't.
we're all we're all on different sides of the spectrum on it. And I only say that in a sense of like we all believe in the same thing, but the same thing that we believe in, we don't apply it to our family issues. It's a cutoff and move on. It's
Mm-hmm.
no like second chance or turning point. It's just a cutoff. See you in like 6 months, or we'll come back and talk again in 6 months.
Yeah, we were together for easily 3 or almost 4 years at this point. Still not married.
Well, they also just assumed that I would follow suit in how the way things should have been,
Mm.
which, to be honest,
Yes,
it'd
and
be a lot easier.
yeah, it was hard on us because we entertained the idea of a faith conversation a lot, but I feel like we never took it seriously until we had to. And me being who I was, I'm not ignorant to the idea. I'm not ignorant. I'm not against an individual who believes in God. I'm not that kind of person who doesn't believe and to shame you for believing it or thinking it's a joke or like you do you, like everyone has their own belief. And at that time, it was really hard because like you said, it was one of those things that like a transition that happened too abrupt. And
It's like a system. You clock in, you go to work, clock out.
mhm,
The minute something interrupts the system, then it's hard to follow this a certain system, or you maybe clocking in is not the best example, but like you have to have gas in your car. You can't
mhm.
just not have gas. You got to go get gas. The minute gas goes up, I don't even know what to use as an example.
Are you trying to say like because I came from not believing to just
Trying to walk in flow,
yeah, just to like just make sure I'm like
or
caught
like
up.
basketball. I don't know how to play basketball. I know how to
You know the
play
idea.
basketball, but I don't know the idea of playing basketball.
Yeah, and like that's where I was. Like we had two different beliefs. I mean, 100% early on, which to me it wasn't a problem. To him, would you say it started to become a problem because you
Well, I don't know if calling it starting to be a problem. I think it was a problem
Yeah.
because we shouldn't have been sleeping together, which I know a lot of people hate on, but if you sleep with a bunch of people, then you're tied to all those people. Then you become that person you slept with, and then they become the person you slept with, and then it's a cycle. Like you may not have had anxiety or anger issues. You sleep with that person, then you can, like, what do you call it, contract or get or adopt, or I don't know. You get anger anxiety issues or
Mhm. Yeah. So like that whole situation for years. I mean, we dealt with a battle with it. There was countless nights where I wouldn't say we would argue, but there was a lot of emotions involved because, like, one that makes me almost tear up still. I remember one night we were talking, and you just flat out asked me, like, why don't you believe, or like, what happened, or something along those lines. And I broke. I was like, why? See, I'm tearing up about it. I was like, why? I just remember I'm like, because I have my own opinions about what a higher power or who God was supposed to be, or like how the world should have been. And quite frankly, it's not the way that a lot of Christians portray God to be. And I remember this is what I think really started my ignite with Him, and like really opening up my doors and being open to the idea of trying to find faith again, because it took that emotion night. Because I just told him, I was like, my family and myself have gone through so much in just the world. I was like, how is this even possible? Like, I fell out of faith because of X, Y, and Z, which, he was never like negative about the situation. He never like said anything that would have like made me upset about it. He was just like, and you have a reason to feel this way, because I talked about my brother, my grandpa, my own past trauma experiences, my family trauma experiences, how ugly the world is, these poor children, these poor people, And I used to say that the Bible is so hypocritical, so hypocritical. But bless Matthew's heart, he would never ever be like, well, that's how it's supposed to be, like some people would. Or what do they always say? God had a plan. Like, he would never do those things that would like almost trigger me, like some Christians do, or would like talk about online or do the X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, do you really think like God had a plan to freaking tear my family apart? Do you think God had a plan to give me such trauma as a child? Like all of this stuff to where like it started making me question. And that specific night for me really opened my eyes, because
well, because we both came from the same background.
yeah, like he also has really messed up things too. And it's not just me, obviously. And, you know, I think you even teared up that night too. Like, because you're like, well, do you not think this is not how I feel? Like, it took him down bad, Like, after that night, I think because he really got like how I felt with high emotions more than I would have like just opened the conversation to him. I think it just took me like being filled with emotions to be like, this is why. Like, I'm just like, we're not fighting, but I'm loud, I'm angry, I'm crying. I'm like, I used to. Like, I've been baptized. I used to believe in God. I used to do this. I used to. And it was just like, but then this, and that. And after that whole conversation to me is when I started to open my eyes. Obviously, I didn't like change beliefs overnight or anything. But then I was just more open to the idea, because it's like, he's been there too, and he's like following his journey. He's still on a journey, because there is some light at the end of the tunnel. Holy cow! And I it was hard on us, because as we got closer to like wanting to be together and wanting to be married.
I had to have you read what a husband meant, what a wife was, what how to judge me in a way that wasn't worldly standard.
Yeah,
I had to show you that uh, why some things are the way they are today, and why we both were given not given. I can't really say a bad parenting example, but
we just
I
weren't
guess a really
given a
bad.
golden platter
Yeah,
family. We had our own issues. And another thing too, like, this kind of goes into the topic of him saying that he kind of felt like he forced it on me, which,
I forced it for a good reason. I knew that that's what you needed because that's what got me through a lot of things.
mhm,
So it was hard for me to ease up and just let you go about your day because I knew that's what you needed because that's what got me through the same things that you were going through. I knew that it wasn't going to hurt you, it wasn't going to harm you, it wasn't going to take away anything out of your life.
at the end of the day, I felt like I was doing it for Matthew and not for me, which I allowed it. I let it go on for a couple years. Like, I was doing things for Matthew, and I think because I didn't want to keep having the conversations, I didn't want to feel pressured. I didn't want outsiders to look at me like I was ready for my ticket for hell. Like, I wanted to just make our life easier and just do it for Matthew.
I was going to start out when I was in a youth group leader at my church. Um, they handed out these little contracts saying that if you were going to become a youth leader, you needed to be spotless. You needed to be clean. You needed to not be in drugs, drinking. You needed to not be doing any of these, which makes sense. You can't be a youth group leader and an alcoholic at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so at the time, I was still getting over my addiction. I was still getting over um, not smoking weed, not drinking anymore. Um, but then at the bottom of the page came up with sleeping around, and I knew I wasn't sleeping around, but I knew what they meant. Um, I was like, okay, well, we're gonna be married soon. There's nothing. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not doing anything with anybody else.
Just not to interrupt. At this point, he was going to be a leader. I started going to that church with him too, so my face
Oh,
was known there.
um, so I signed it. I signed it. I kept going. I went to youth group camp. I went to a retreat. I went to. I was in the church. I was involved. Um, and then we decided that we wanted to get more serious and go to counseling beforehand. Um, but I didn't want to go anywhere else but a church because that's where we were going. That's what we were doing.
We were ready to get married at this point, and he asked one of the pastors at the church to marry us. And that led into like the counseling where the person's like, "Oh yeah, like we would love to. Like, we went up there after a service one day and talked with the individual, and he said his only requirement was premarital counseling, which, you know, it would probably benefit us. So we both were like, yeah. I have been getting involved with more like praying with Matthew, reading, going to church, trying to find Christ at this time.
It wasn't forced anymore. You were in the flow of
Yeah,
doing
like,
it.
it was more of becoming my choice, but still like with his mouth in my ear, like him still being that birdie, but not as forced. Like, I was going for me at this point. And then we got into the premarital counseling, which did us worse, I think, than it did good because of a
We
lot of.
didn't even start. We only got into like
Yeah, we met
the
up with
first
them
week.
twice. Yeah, we went. I think the first time we met up with them, it was great. I went in with negative expectations, as I do, because of where I stood at that time. I wasn't believing in God. I don't feel like Christ died for me at this point. And I was actually shocked that the first day, like, it wasn't any like counseling or anything by any means. But what, we like just hang out, had dinner,
And we had dinner, we hung out. They weren't all like normal,
yeah,
awkward church people. Um,
got to know us.
they were friends before they were pastors.
Yeah, and we ate dinner with their kids. Like, it was a really cool environment to just sit there, and then we talked about a book, and they recommended it because they felt like it's beneficial to all couples. And what was it, the five love languages? And they were like, you guys should get that. Like, we definitely want to touch base on that because if anyone knows the five love languages, it's about trying to find what your spouse's love language is and your own, quite frankly. But
Do you
they,
remember all five?
words of affirmation, physical touch, um, like gift giving, physical words, gift giving. What are the last two? I don't know the last two, but well, we didn't finish the book, so anyway. And like they recommended it, and we bought it that night, right? Or did they give us one book? We bought them.
No, we had to order them.
Okay, yeah. So we bought them that night.
It was that one and the other, the Gary Chapman one.
I think that's by Gary Chapman.
No.
Yeah, it was just the one book from them. We ordered it, and it almost felt like a breath of fresh air because after we left, I just remember I was like, I think this would be a good idea. He was excited, and
Because you were finally coming around. I didn't have to feel awkward to do these things. I didn't have
yeah,
to feel.
I was there because I wanted to be there, not because Matthew told me I had to be there. And so it felt great. Then I want to say we had one more session with them before everything took a turn. We had one more session. I think it was just
They were
no.
getting serious on coming to Christ before we got married.
Yeah, so we had one session that was good, like one more. But at this time before that session, something happened, which I mean, didn't affect us then. But the next week, we met up with them for dinner. And I still felt so great. Like, I think it still was a great session until it wasn't. I remember, like, we were getting serious. They asked us if we got the book. Like, I think at that point, we must have read, like, a couple chapters or something. And we kind of gave our feedback. And we're like, no, I think it was great. And I remember, I think they just talked about, like,
It's hard to go into this part. You can't really go into it.
it was just more of like, they asked us where we stood with Christ. So when they got to Matthew, he went into his spiel. When they got to me, I didn't find it weird and I didn't find it nerve wracking to say what I was going to say. But I remember, I thought it was so great, but I remember I would say, I am on my journey. I am looking for Christ. And I explained to them, like, I used to believe, but then I fell out of belief. But right now, I am searching for God. Like, I am actively pursuing that. And they weren't weird about it. Like, they weren't being like, oh, like what I thought would have happened. But we left and it was really good. And it just felt like I left and I felt comforted. Like, obviously they said, well, we definitely encourage it. You know what I mean? Like, They weren't just like, oh, well, don't get married, like, don't do this, you know. They were super cool about it. And then something was said, and that's when things just kind of took a turn. And it was something that put a big step in between our relationship. And not getting too much into it, but it affected Matthew and I more than it should have. And it really put me back on belief. I made it I just stopped caring at this point, which made it harder for us because I was in no hurry to go find Christ again. Like, I was hurt. Matthew was hurt. And our marriage just kind of, our engagement marriage thing, is what we already had a date and stuff set, you know?
They kicked me out of youth group leadership because she wasn't on point like that. Like it wasn't on point. You weren't.
I
You can't come to
wasn't,
Christ next tomorrow or today.
yeah. So my response affected Matthew too. And, you know, like you said, I remember you came, I think you came home and you're like, I can't
Yeah.
go. Or,
The youth group leader called me to a meeting and yeah, ultimately said it's either this or that. And it didn't sit right with me because I know that's not how it's supposed to go. Like
mm-hmm.
if yeah, she's not on board now. I was like, but nobody is. Like nobody just comes in same day and then just stays perfect all the way through.
It's like, I get teary eyed because it's like, can you imagine being the reason why someone can't be a youth leader? Like, he was all in. He already went on the camps. He already, you know, was mentoring children, and like people were looking up to him because he was being honest with them and like sharing his story. To find out that he was kicked out because his spouse isn't a full believer in Christ at the moment, you know? So it really sucked. I mean, we stopped attending that church quick because there was some things that we felt just weren't being followed as they should. And why is his spouse gonna determine where he stands in the church? You know, it's not like I've ever came in and caused chaos. I've never done anything wrong. So then ultimately Matthew and I had some other issues that happened. And family things happened. And I stopped trying to find Christ while Matthew was still actively trying to find it. And it, you know, other things happened. And I think we ultimately thought it was just best to not try it. I don't know how else to put it. We fought and we fought and we fought.
So now we're going to the light segment. Add warmth and humor by playfully showing how you balance your differences. What's one belief or habit of mine you've learned to love instead of fight?
It's like the verse where it's like, Jesus loved.
No, but what did I do?
You would do like,
Because I'm curious for myself.
early on, this is when it was annoying. You would just try and like set that like perfect house. Like you would, like, it was almost like we were playing house. Like,
I had you do the dishes
no,
or clean the lint trap,
no. Like,
make the bed, brush your teeth in the
like
morning.
I was wife. Ooh. Like I was wife. I had to do wife duties.
Oh,
Matthew was the man of the house. He needed to do man duties. But also,
do these.
I'm a full time employed woman who equally is working with him. But the wife needed to do the duties that a wife should be doing when she's at home full time, taking care of the house, taking care of her man. I wasn't. So it was almost one of those things where like the expectations of the man of the house just didn't feel real and they felt like forced until later it started to get more natural and comforting, and I was like, okay, like Big Daddy, do your thing. Like it's different. Like I will cater to you and cater to the house, even though me and you're both, full time working and doing things. What's one value we share that always brings us back together?
We're patient, loving each other. If you use the last roll of the toilet paper and you make me go with you to the store to get more toilet paper at 12 in the morning, when I knew you should have went and got toilet paper the day before or the day of when we're already out and about.
I didn't know we were out until I literally go wipe my butt. I had to. It was
I was
an
perfectly okay sitting
emergency.
at home playing 2K, but you wanted to go out, get active, go to a baby shower, and then come home, clean the house, do the dishes, take out the trash.
I'm being a wife, doing wife duties.
So you know what? I can't let you go to the store by yourself because you'll come home with brownies, cookies, cereal, a spatula, more
I'm a
spoons,
PMS and gal. Let
forks.
me live my life.
Hey, bro, all you gotta do is go to the store and get some more toilet paper.
I'm so bad at that. Let's name 3 things we'll never agree on.
You can leave on the wax smell all day and you're not gonna catch fire, and it's not gonna catch fire.
But the one time, okay? It won't. We'll never agree on that. Turn it off.
You don't need to clean the lint trap every single time.
Yes, you do.
You can go 2 dryer cycles before you gotta clean it.
No.
You don't need to flush the toilet. Hold on. When you put cleaning solution in the toilet, because you'll go to the bathroom and you'll flush the toilet and then flush it again after you've already went to the bathroom. Because you said you don't want all the soap particles to jump up out of the toilet, kiss your butt.
Sorry, UTIs are really something I don't want. Matthew says that I'm dramatic when it comes to people almost causing accidents, and it's never my fault.
I'm about to go in. I'm about to go
Okay.
in. You're not dramatic. Who just got hit with a pillow this morning and said, "Oh, oh"?
I'm not dramatic. No, it wasn't a pillow. It was a corner of your phone.
That's even worse.
I'm
I
not
said,
dramatic.
"Boop." You said,
I'm not dramatic. I am.
You gave me a concussion.
Matthew feels like I should never update him on my day to day.
Wrong.
We'll never. No. I'll explain. This is something we'll never agree on. I tell him exactly what I'm doing, or why I'm doing it, or when I'm doing it. Why? Because I think it's important. He doesn't feel like I need to.
I don't need to know that you went to the bathroom 4 times in the span of an hour.
I love to write things down in a planner, but I don't always have it with me, so I'm verbally writing things down. And you're kind of my notebook. Look at it that way. Because sometimes, this is why I think it's handy. Sometimes, not all the time, because I think he just lies. He'll be like, I thought you said you were going to go shower. And I'm like, dang, yeah, I was. Or he'll think I said something because he's just so used to me as blabbering. He'll be like, I thought you said you were going to go shower. When did I say that? You know what I mean?
That's a terrible system.
Well, it works for me. There was things that I feel. I mean, we hope you guys would get the point of it. Like, there's a lot of things that would affect us personally that we just never addressed early on, and
We did everything backwards. We jumped into it first because we knew what we had and we didn't want to lose it. And we thought that going through all these steps, we're going to find things that we didn't like about each other, and it wasn't going to work out. Mm-hmm. So we jumped right into it first, and then went to, okay, do you like this? Do you not like this? Do you like this? Mm-hmm. Do you not want to do this? How do you feel about this? Like, I want kids now. She doesn't want kids now. So now I gotta wait.
Bro, I want 12 children inside me right now. That I know an example. There's just a lot of things like
do all the slow steps first. Get to a comfortable point where you can openly talk about, well, I don't like you go through a whole roll of toilet paper in 2 weeks, or I don't like.
It's golden hour. Sorry.
I don't like that you don't change the lint trap every week.
You know, and those small issues are not the end of the world. You know, if I sincerely felt like that lint trap situation was like a make it or break it, baby girl, I got a rude awakening. Not everyone is going to be that cup of tea. But you... Oh, I'm not going nowhere? No, anyway. There's a lot of things that you will learn to figure out, you know, but you want to talk about them kind of early, you know, what consequences we had to figure out, you know, like our actions had consequences, and quite frankly, it left us to separate and think we were never going to find each other again. And, you know, we just went through a season that just wasn't, it just was really tough on us that we didn't think we'd make it out of.
I think next week's episode is going to be different. We have feedback, questions, reviews to go over, and stories. So it won't be a whole new episode. It'll just be
just kind of a connect. Yeah. We're not going to do another topic. So, yeah, next week we won't go into our separation. We'll do that the following week.
Or do you want another episode?
Okay. From now to next episode, next week, we'll have some feedback, some stories, some more messages, you know, and we've gotten some feedback from family. We've gotten some feedback from other people. And
just connect and go over different stories, different topics, different situations, funny stories.
Yeah, just get to know us more. That's not just like I said, we're going off notes. Like we wrote a bunch of things, and this is how we plan to do our first handful. But it'll just be off the dome, straight from the rib. You know, like we're just we're gonna figure it out. However, it was painful and painless at the same time. But those differences really built us a stronger connection, I think.
You just got crazier.
I just knew what he was going to miss out on, so I just made sure that he knew he was losing it. What is it? You dropped the ball, you fumbled the bag. And then to tell you, separation was the best thing that could have happened to me. So, anyway, thanks for growing with us.
Goodbye.
Through it all.